Si comes tienes que lavar tu plato, Firulais. Anda, enjuágalo bien. No me gruñas. A ver, con la esponja eso. Y enjuaga bien que luego deja todo jabonoso. Eso así, muy bien, aunque de malas.
Welcome to the motherfucking we're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this, a second look at the upcoming WBO Super Flyweight title fight between the champion Mizuki Hiruta and the challenger Mai Soliman, set to go down on the undercard of Usyk versus Verhoeven towards the end of this month in a little over a week's time. What came as a pleasant surprise to me because Turki El Sheikh does not often enlist the aid of female fighters for his shows, but he chose a very good one here in Mizuki Hiruta, who sports an unblemished record of 10 wins with no losses and no draws. 2 recorded knockouts to Mai Soliman, who sports a similar number of fights at 10 wins and 1 loss with no draws. 6 recorded knockouts, 3 times as many knockouts as the champion, albeit at domestic level. So what that essentially means is that if Mizuki Hiruta had still been fighting the kind of low-level girls that Mai Soliman has been fighting, she'd probably have 6 knockouts too, maybe more. 30 years old to Mai Soliman, who's 2 years younger at 28. In many ways, this fight is going down in Mai Soliman's neck of the woods. Mai Soliman is based out of Australia, though ethnically she is Egyptian, thus relishing the opportunity to fight at the pyramids at Giza, though I don't think it's going to help. Mai Soliman was last in action in November of last year opposite the ring Jasmine Parr, who she stopped in the 7th round of a contest scheduled for 10, and so far, that's the best fighter that she's ever fought. It's actually a good scalp, albeit at domestic level, and that's really what separates Mai Soliman from Mizuki Hiruta, where Mai Soliman is proven to be a capable domestic-level fighter. Mizuki is more world-traveled. More than Mai Soliman, who's currently on a 9-fight winning streak since having dropped a decision to Beck Moss in September of 2022, having fought 4 times in the previous year, once in March, again in June, again in August, then again in November, and this will be Mai's first fight of this year, a very big one, on a very big show, the biggest that she would have ever fought on. The same applies to Mizuki, who was just as active as Mai in the previous year, having fought once in January, again in May, again in August, then again in November, opposite the ring Gloria Gallardo, who she easily outpointed. Mizuki and Mai have a similar number of fights, but Mizuki has seen more fighters like Mai Soliman than the other way around. You know, Mai Soliman's a very aggressive customer, believes in her power, steps into her punches. Mizuki's seen fighters like that, some of which are more experienced than Mai Soliman, like Carla Marino, Gloria Gallardo, the very talented Naomi Cardenas. Tack on the scalp of a former champion in Maribel Ramirez, and that really rounds out Mizuki's resume, encompassing that she is a more world-traveled fighter than Mai Soliman. Mai has largely fought domestically in the domestic Australian boxing scene, whereas Mizuki, she may have started out domestically like a lot of fighters do, fighting in her native Japan, fighting local girls, but in recent years, she's traveled abroad, training in America with Manny Robles, exposing herself to Mexican culture and the Mexican style of boxing, adding different bells and whistles to her repertoire, and I think that's what's going to make all the difference. That's what's going to separate them on the night. Mai Soliman is going to try to put Mizuki Hiruta under pressure, and Mizuki has seen pressure before. She knows how to work around it. She had to deal with plenty of that from a then unbeaten Naomi Cardenas. Mizuki now knows how to box on her toes, stepping in and out of striking distance, working to hit and not get hit. That's how she manages it. Keeping a bit of distance between herself and her opponent, enough to step out and be out of striking distance, then step back in to land punches of her own. And she picked all this up in just 10 professional fights. She's a very quick study and a good student. Able to handle herself in the pocket, in the exchange, but good enough to not have to stay there, to bounce out of range when the situation calls for it. This is what I believe will offset the forward momentum of Mai Soliman, who's a very aggressive fighter, mid-range to inside fighter. And if she can get there, she's capable. I think Mizuki, however, is going to make it hard for her. For me, it's not a question of who wins, but how Mizuki wins. Does she win a decision, or does she stop Mai Soliman? Because that's possible. Mizuki packs the same kind of punch that Mai Soliman does, maybe harder, but she's got that and more. More ways of fighting a fight than just barreling forward and crashing the pocket. She's a very skilled boxer, and she's getting better, fight by fight. So I like Mizuki to win. Ring Magazine Female Fighter of the Year in the previous year, which is likely how she was able to land this opportunity since Turkey doesn't normally use female fighters on his shows, but he decided to use her. And that might have something to do with it, her sparkling personality and the fact that once the bell rings, she's a pleasure to watch. I like Mizuki to win and keep the WBO Super Flyweight title! Elsewhere in the world of boxing, according to Dana White, boxing has become a European sport and he wants Zuffa to have a foothold in the United Kingdom. For how many years now have I been telling you here on the channel that the UK market is actually a more fertile market than the American one? This is proof. Why else would Dana White be looking across the pond, saying that boxing has become a European sport? I thought it was an American pastime. I thought this was the mecca of boxing. Zuffa boxing promoter Dana White spent some time talking to boxing media following its latest card and fielded questions about a number of subjects ranging from the plans for his company in the UK, plans to sign more and more fighters to their outfit, and more. In terms of UK imports, all they've really got so far is Conor Benn and Chris Billum-Smith. They will need to add to their roster to be competitive against Eddie Hearn, against Frank Warren, and to a lesser extent, Ben Shalom. He said, "We have an incredible Sky Sports deal, so we're going to do a lot of fights in the UK. Realistically, over the last 15 to 20 years, boxing has become a European sport. It definitely doesn't have the same power it had in the United States in the 90s and early 2000s. To that effect, you can expect any Matchroom or Queensberry Promotions castaways to wash up on the shores of Zuffa boxing, just like what we've been seeing in America. Familiar faces and fighters, many of which have been there and done that, already have a few losses in the column and need somewhere to go. As well as any high-profile fighters that have entered free agency like Shakur Stevenson. On the rumors of Shakur signing to Zuffa, Dana said, "Did we announce that, Shakur Stevenson? No, possibly. Listen, at the end of the day, I think everybody's going to be here at Zuffa Boxing. I said judge us by our body of work heading into 2027. So yeah, I don't know why I would say things that weren't true. I mean, look at what we've done in just 4 months." So now that rumors of both Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney migrating over to Zuffa are making the rounds, opinions are starting to soften about the upstart promotional outfit, though Roy Jones Jr., his stance hasn't softened on either Zuffa Boxing or the Ali Revival Act.
It's not about talent and winning no more. It's about who they want there. And that's what they're trying to do to boxing. I'm sorry, that's not right. I don't care who you are. Talent, skill, hard work, all those things should determine who's the best. And you should have an opportunity to get a shot at the best if you want the best. Not have to kiss their ass to get to the best, but they got total control of it. You got to kiss their ass or you can't fight. You got to move out of the country. That's right. That's what we want to see in boxing. No, it's not. But that's what's about to happen. And they too idiotic to understand that. Most of the people around too idiotic to understand what's really happening. They don't understand. By the time they get it, it's already too late. It's almost too late now. Nico understands, that's why he went there. Oscar understands, that's why he went there. But most people in boxing don't understand. They see a few money, oh, that's great money. No, it's not. It's great money now. It's not great money tomorrow. History's going to be erased. There's going to be no such thing as WBC, WBA, IBF, and WBO champ no more. Chance Crawford was known for being the four-belt era champ more in 3-weight division. That's going to be gone now. No such chance to do that anymore. And that's what we want in boxing. So we're going to kill the history to make it look like UFC? Not make it out of there with that. I'm sorry, I can't do it.
Responding to Roy Jones Jr.'s ominous warnings about what Zuffa might become over time, Nico Ali Walsh himself said, "Legends are speaking out. Don't ignore it." I'm not, but I can't help but notice that the boxing world is split on this one, where Roy Jones Jr. is against it, the man who knocked him out, the man who beat him, he's over there right now. Antonio Tarver's over there, Andre Ward is over there, and some people would call them legends. They're working as commentators over there. I saw a Twitter user who goes by the name Sadiq Ahmed say, "If you're American and agree with Roy, email your senators and tell them to oppose the Ali American Boxing Revival Act. Their response may be generic, but it's crucial that they are aware of how many people are strongly opposed to the act. So maybe not as many people are strongly opposed to it as you think, because for all of these ominous warnings about Zuffa, it's the boxers themselves going over there. They're making that decision on their own. They're not being coerced, and they're not being forced. They're doing so of their own volition. So are you sure the boxing world is strongly against this? Or is it that the boxing world has always been for sale, and this is no different? Friend of the channel, Joe Habib, highlighted this when he said, Roy Jones Jr.'s promotional company, Square Ring, had a rights agreement with UFC Fight Pass spanning 7 years, from 2018 to 2025. It's interesting hearing him say these things now, since he's always appeared to have a good relationship with the UFC and Dana White. But all of a sudden he doesn't? Dana White himself addressed Roy Jones Jr.'s criticisms, saying, I think everybody's gonna have opinions, especially the traditional guys who came up the way that they did. I think if you were to ask any of the fighters, they would tell you that we treat them very well, treat them like professional athletes. I don't know where that's coming from, but I do like Roy. When you come into a business and cause disruption, you're going to ruffle some feathers. It's going to happen. If what Roy's biggest argument is that the alphabets as they are will cease to exist, they will fade away. Let me remind you of something. The boxing world existed before the WBC, the WBA, the WBO, and the IBF. Oh, yes. There were champions. There were titles. They may have gone by a different name, but they were still there. I'm not even saying that I believe Zuffa is going to get rid of the alphabet organizations. I'm of the opinion that there is room for both the existing framework and the new one, but on the predication that that's what Zuffa's going to do. Get rid of the alphabets. I hate to break it to you, Roy, but nobody stopped looking at Jack Dempsey or Sugar Ray Robinson as world champions because the WBO wasn't around when they were fighting, or the IBF, or the WBC. I mean, Jack Dempsey, Harry Greb, Sugar Ray Robinson, you name them, they're still recognized as champions. Maybe you're putting a little bit too much emphasis on the alphabet organizations that weren't even there in the beginning. Not the way they are now. You're exaggerating that the entire history of boxing will be erased if a new framework is introduced. It wasn't erased. When the National Boxing Association became the World Boxing Association in August of 1962, it wasn't erased when the WBC was founded in 1963, and it wasn't erased when both the IBF and the WBO were introduced. The history of boxing remained intact in spite of those additions. Thus, it will remain intact in spite of this addition, the addition of Zuffa, that I don't even know if it's gonna last. I just think a lot of people are being sensationalistic. I think they're exaggerating, and I also think they're being short-sighted, not addressing the imperfections of boxing as it is, boxing as it has been. Oddly enough, it was Floyd Schofield who highlighted this when he said, I can see why everyone is going to Zuffa and one belt. The politics with these belts are crazy. Is the WBA going to mandate Gervonta or Prince Body to fight? We await the announcement. We've literally seen the WBA bend the rules for Gervonta Davis in previous years. Now, they're holding up the division when by all rights he should be stripped. He should not be the reason that the WBA title is not in circulation. If his legal troubles have reached the point to where he can't compete, it's a simple matter, really, but because the WBA is keen on doing him favors. And they always have been. You've got Roy Jones over there saying that you're gonna have to kiss ass at Zuffa. You have to kiss ass now.
What the fuck is this? What do you have to sleep with to fight for a WBA title?
What are you telling us, Roy? That there isn't favoritism within the existing framework? That everything's perfect and even for everybody? You yourself were the beneficiary of that favoritism when Graziano Rocigliani was stripped of a title he already won because you decided to double back and stay a light heavyweight. They took the title from him and gave it back to you.
Remember that?
Because that's why the WBC got sued. That's how Graziano Rocigliani almost bankrupted them. So spare me the claptrap about favoritism at Zuffa. There's favoritism now. You just don't want to be honest about it because you've benefited from that favoritism. So is it partiality you're trying to prevent? Or preserve? There's nothing perfect about the existing framework, and it doesn't take a genius to shoot holes in these arguments.
I don't think that Zuffa's perfect. I don't think it's gonna be, but guess what?
The existing framework hasn't been either. Almost anything would be an improvement to how things have been. So why should you be so against the fighters having a choice? Ultimately, it's up to them. They're the ones choosing to go over there. They don't have to.
Well, that's the problem for the sanctioning bodies. Up until this point, the fighters had to deal with them. Now, they have a choice. And the sanctioning bodies don't like that. At least two of them.
Now it's time for another installment of what has fast become the most popular segment here on the channel, Ring IQ Hate Mail!
Wilfredo Cervantes is back to defend the honor of David Benavidez, saying just because David Morrell lost by knockout a year removed from the Benavidez fight, it's damage control for Benavidez?
Yeah, it is when people are saying the only reason he lost is because David ruined him.
Damn, your hate for this fighter is off the charts. Your double standards show once again. Didn't Munguia and Berlanga both get knocked out some after Canelo fights?
Yeah, and when they did, I didn't see people saying that Canelo ruined Munguia or Canelo ruined Berlanga.
Where was the damage control video about how those two fights aged for Canelo? Benavidez might end losing some fights, but the one thing I'm certain of is Benavidez won't lose to a fighter that spent their prime years 3 weight classes below.
Well, the one thing I'm certain of is that David Benavidez will not return to the light heavyweight division like you gullible fools initially thought.
But hey, make your money off Canelo, fanboys.
I would have thought that you guys are the Canelo fans as much as you bring him up in conversations that are no longer about him, because David Benavidez versus Canelo Alvarez is a dead subject. You're the only ones still beating that dead horse. I could make a video about Benavidez versus Bivol or Benavidez versus Opataya and why they should fight, and the first thing you guys are gonna do is start talking about Canelo. We're not the Canelo fanboys. You are.
You're the ones on his dick.
David is. David is campaigning as a whole cruiserweight in the cruiserweight division with 2 cruiserweight titles. And who did he call out after a fight with a cruiserweight? Canelo. So that if I say you're wasting time on that, you and I both know that fight with Canelo isn't gonna happen. Maybe you should fight Jai. What do you want to do? You want to get mad at me?
You wouldn't be mad if I sat here talking about Canelo all fucking day like your new idol.
The fact of the matter is, David Morrell losing this weekend the way that he did after people like you put him on a pedestal for no other reason than David Benavidez beat him.
This is not an inciting incident. This is a response. For many months now, people have been taking shots at Canelo Alvarez, saying that his victories haven't aged well, like when Munguia got knocked out by Sriracha. So when the shoe is on the other foot, you want to fucking cry about it. If it bothers you so much, Wilfredo, then why do you keep coming here?
When Munguia gets knocked out by Sriracha, they were taking shots at Canelo over that, and when Caleb Plant lost to Armando Resendiz, it was the same thing.
So that if I say, David's victory over Vosdick didn't age well, or his victory over Morrell.
Forget about Andre, because that guy was never relevant.
Nobody likes a taste of their own medicine because, as stated, this is not an inciting incident. This is a response.
This is what I've been watching you guys do for months. You just don't like it when it's done to you. And if the coverage of David Benavidez on this channel bothers you so fucking much, why do you keep coming here again?
What fucking spin am I supposed to put on David Morrell losing to a part-time boxer? David Morrell is supposed to be one of the best guys David Benavidez fought.
All I'm saying is he can't be that good if he's losing to a substitute teacher.
Who already lost 3 times before this weekend. By the way, what spin am I supposed to put on that?
How the fuck do you make that sound like a good thing?
You can't.
And that's what makes it damage control, because you know this looks bad.